It only takes roughly 40, 50 billion dollars in a banking crisis to finally make the stuff that we're talking about interesting. So I really appreciate SVB and all these people just absolutely ruining crypto for a weekend. And now, hey, look, now we care about stablecoins. So thank you guys. So just an absolute broad strokes overview so that we can all get some framework. So where this thing starts is actually a little before the weekend, before the craziness, and it's with Silvergate. So Silvergate Bank held a huge amount of different crypto entities, most of the exchanges in the US. That's where most of them moved around and got their liquidity. So Silvergate quietly got close roughly to the rest of the space. This stuff me and a few people have been talking about for a while. It's a pretty big deal. Here's why Silvergate was important, but you didn't really notice it. So the accounts just got basically moved around to everyone else. So they went to Signature, which we'll hear about in a second, more of SVB. For USDC particularly, most of their custodianship is actually in BlackRock. So Silvergate closes, count shift, world's still okay. Then where this spike really happens is with SVB, which is Silicon Valley Bank. So Silicon Valley Bank has a few issues that we'll discuss in a second, but essentially there's a bank run. And when we say a bank run, we actually mean like the greatest bank run in history. So from the beginning to the end, the bank run was roughly $42 million withdrawn in just around like 12 hours. It was averaging billions an hour in withdrawals. Billions in hours. So if you actually compare this to some of the runs in 2008, this was multiple times the size and an order of magnitude less time. So we are talking, this isn't a bank run. This is the mother of all bank runs. Like this does not happen. It's like sometimes because in these spaces we discuss bank run, that term gets a little soft. Like this isn't a bank run. This is the mother of all bank sprints. Like this does not happen anywhere. So once that happens, it becomes public that USDC Circle has a position there, right? So it's a few $billion. So the panic on the market is, okay, USDC is fractionally reserved. So that's when this panic move starts. That's actually not what causes the depeg and the problem, though. This is what's interesting. We got to go back to Silvergate now. So Silvergate ran the Silvergate Enterprise Network, which is the SEN network. So the SEN network allowed most of these different exchanges to move money around 24 hours a day. So if we, again, go a little even farther back, Binance had a crunch over hours and they were like, hey, everyone relax. We're going to have it in the morning. And there is that gap between there. So that's what's really interesting there is this. We got a prequel to this not that long ago when Silvergate actually kicked Binance off and Binance was having banking partner issues. And we saw a mini version of this, but scale of Binance, different partners, it didn't have the same level of effect. And also there wasn't this scare, this FUD coming around with this fractionally reserved. They just weren't able to do the deposits. Okay, so now we're back to where we are on Friday. So we lose our 24-hour movement of funds, right? So there's a liquidity issue. And then we get this spike in this scare. So what happens is USDC is pegged at $1. Why is USDC $1? Well, the first answer is because the liquidity pools say it's worth $1. And the second is the redemption mechanism that makes it hold that peg. So you can mint USDC through Circle and it comes out at $1. And if it's not $1 in liquidity pools, basically what happens is people arb and basically buy things up with USDC to arb it to $1. If it goes above $1, people start to redeem it around. And so you move these things around, right? The inverse of that. So that's why it stays on that peg is what there's a redemption. The problem is if redemptions are off, most of the time it doesn't really move the peg around too much because people still arb with the expectation that, hey, in 6 hours, it's going to be worth $1 again. But because there's this scare of fractional reserve, now people are concerned about the peg and there's no redemption. And that's what causes this spiral to see. So again, just for clarity, what makes this interesting is it's not the fractional reserve that actually causes that problem. It's the scare of that causes the peg to break, but the peg actually breaks because of the redemption mechanisms. So if Circle had turned off the redemptions from Friday till Monday morning, and they were 150% collateralized, but everybody had concerns, the peg would still break. So it's not that peg break is not directly related to the collateral. It's the combination of the two. There's a scare about collateral and then no peg. And that's what causes this big break.